YouTube, what's going on everybody? Today, join me as we take a deep dive through the annals, I pronounced it correctly, I checked, of baseball history. Not the anus. I'm not so sure we all agree on the potential of the sets and seasons content model in MLB The Show. I'm pretty sure it's coming back next year in MLB The Show 24. It would be very odd for them to completely ditch what they tried as a new thing in 23. Howstever, there's a fundamental flaw in sets and seasons. We don't have enough legends to truly make it work. So a couple streams ago, twitch.tv/kdjTV for all those who are interested, me and my chat had a blast playing the name game. It's an unofficial title, of course, but basically your job as the chatter or me as the streamer was to name the most random baseball players in history that you can remember. Through this, we uncovered or re-uncovered some gems. Some all-time really good baseball players that kind of just get lost in the fabric of time. They're not Hall of Famers, certainly not. That automatically disqualifies you. And really, maybe they're not as special as we think, but for some reason, these names stick out in our heads. So welcome back to Whiteboard Wednesday, the content series on MLB The Show, where we just kind of riff on the game with a whiteboard. And today, we are going through 20 of the most random names that I think would be really cool legend adds in MLB The Show 24. Shout out, by the way, to the homies on Twitter who helped respond to my prompt, my plea for help with more random names that we should consider. A lot of them did come up in the Twitch chat, so I appreciate the kind of overlap there to make sure we didn't miss anybody. And of course, the most important thing, let's play the name game in the comments. I would love to hear from you the very random players that you think would be cool legends in MLB The Show. It's important to note, these cannot be like god-tier players. We're not talking Hall of Famers, we're not talking 15-time All-Stars, we're talking about some guys who were certainly good, who had their moment, but for some reason they just got lost. And it's an important thing to understand here, when we and MLB The Show use the word legend, they don't actually mean an icon. They just mean an old guy that's retired. That's it. Let's not read too much into this. Let's stop saying, oh, LOL, this guy's not really a legend. Just go with it. Just stop being unfun. So as I said, there are going to be 20 random players here. For sure there are more that would be super dope. The point of this is to beef up sets and seasons to give us a little more longevity out of the content, so we avoid these duplicate 99s. I'm not going to do 20 different whiteboards here. I'm going to try to group some players together based on maybe position or era or just whatever my head can come up with. So we'll get through this pretty quick. We're not going to take 6 years to get through 20 players. But again, remember, let me know who you think we should add. We do start out, however, with a player who gets his own slide. Remember Brady Anderson? If you're not born in the 90s, there's a 100% chance you don't. But out of nowhere, Brady Anderson, an Orioles outfielder, had a 50 home run season, and then proceeded to never come close again. This was the height of the steroid era. It would have been super fun to have him with these steroid cards like Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire. And when you talk about the viability and relevance of a milestone card, I'm not sure if another soul on planet Earth fits it more than Mr. Brady Anderson. The point of this video, and the point of this name game too, is also to beef up the legend roster of some teams that don't always get a ton of viable legends. I think Brady Anderson certainly helps the Orioles out, and you'll see as we go through this video, there'll be a lot more guys on some teams we forget about, or SDS forgets about, that would just make it a little more well-rounded. If you think long and hard enough, you will certainly remember these three players. They had very short peaks, but while they played, they were very good. It was Marcus Giles, Miguel Montero, and Carlos Gomez. Carlos Gomez is one of a few on this list that come from Twitter. I appreciate the feedback. They're almost too talented and too well-known to be included in the name game, but because they didn't have Hall of Fame careers, we'll include them anyway. Carlos Gomez was a former top prospect, very talented, but kind of just bounced around, flamed out with the Mets, and then he was with the Brewers, and he eventually had himself a productive little career, but I think we could all agree it could have been more. But think about what this grouping of players does for the Legends roster of MLB The Show. Marcus Giles, we add a little second baseman. He was probably the size of Jose Altuve, but he actually had decent pop for someone his size. Miguel Montero, a World Series winner with the Cubs. Yeah, I forgot about it too. He's a catcher. We could always use catching depth. And if you use postseason cards, or if you use some magical, mythical ways of building 99s, he might have a nice little swing. And then peak Carlos Gomez. Peak Carlos Gomez was a true 5-tool type of card that we could get something sick out of if they built it the right way. Plus, he fulfills a lot of all-time teams, as we're kind of talking about building out rosters here for certain teams. Carlos Gomez helps a lot. The MLB The Show meta is all about sinkers. How do we not have arguably the best sinker baller, or at least one of the best sinker ballers of the late 90s and early 2000s in Derek Lowe? Derek Lowe is the perfect type of pitcher to get a card in MLB The Show. He's thrown a no-hitter, he was a reliever, he was a starter, he's pitched on a lot of teams. I mean, I don't know what else we want from a guy who could just be so valuable in this video game. Also, if they build his arsenal correctly, I think he could be very good outside of the sinker meta too. So SDS, if you're listening, and I hope that you are, go get Derek Lowe. I can almost guarantee that you have not heard of a single player on this list, except maybe Mike Stanton, but that's not the Mike Stanton we're talking about. First things first, Dan Quisenberry. No, that is not a ChatGPT fake baseball name. Dan Quisenberry was a sidewinding reliever. He pitched a lot for the Royals, and I think in an era, or at least a game, where we don't have enough relievers, give me a little side army boy. That'd be fun. Mike Boddicker. Who the hell is that? He was the AL wins leader in 1984, pitched for the Orioles among other teams. He's not going to blow your doors off, but he's a cool legend that played for 4 teams and could help satisfy some people of the 80s vibe. Then we have Norm Charlton. I had to look this guy up. A World Series champion in 1990 with the Big Red Machine. He's a lefty reliever nicknamed the Sheriff. If Incognito comes back, please God no, then we have somebody for the Reds. He had 97 career saves, a career ERA under 4. He was not complete dog shit. So if we're looking for another chance to get a lefty in the game, Normie Charlton. Speaking of lefties, let's talk about Mike, not Giancarlo, Stanton. A lefty reliever in the early 2000s for both the Mets and Yankees. He's just a lefty. Give me more lefties. These 4 players would be music to my ears. I would love to have Maglio Ordonez, Rafael Furcal, Javi Lopez, and Andres Galarraga in the game. Ordonez, very good player, as was Javi Lopez. Honestly, all these guys were really good players, and they're pushing it a little bit in terms of random names. But for certain fans of like the 90s and early 2000s baseball, these are the guys we want. Ordonez used to be a killer of baseballs. Furcal, at times, when healthy, unfortunate that he wasn't, but he was like a borderline 5-tool star. Javi Lopez, one of the best offensive catchers of all time and a World Series champion, I'm pretty sure, with the Braves. And then Andres Galarraga, all that man did was hit absolute taters everywhere he played. By the way, I looked it up and Javi Lopez won the World Series in 1995. There you go. Some viewers might recognize these names right away. Others might be like, who the hell are these people? Either way, they'd be a ton of fun to add to the game, and it needs to be done ASAP. Good old Jacques Jones. Played for the Twins, lefty bat. Has a nice little swing, at least in real life he did. I'd love to have him in the game. Reggie Sanders, that man had such a sweet right-handed swing. It was long, it was powerful, and boy golly did he hit tanks. He played for a bunch of teams. I'd love to have Reggie Sanders in the game. Then lastly, Juan Uribe. Relative to his tiny little size, he might have one of the most vicious swings in the game. Similar to Jose Altuve, kind of, but I would imagine that Uribe was much less athletic than Jose Altuve, but he played for a ton of teams. Super utility guy. Is he going to be the best card you've ever seen? Absolutely not. But he's a random card, a random legend that would be fun to add. I can guarantee just about everybody watching remembers the name David Eckstein. I don't actually think he'd be a ton of fun to add to the game, but multiple of you, more than one of you, said that you'd like to see him as a random name to be added to the game, and so here he is. But otherwise, I love these guys here. Mike Sweeney, give the Royals some love. This man was like a perennial all-star for them in the 90s, hit a bunch of homers, he might have been the team captain. The Royals get no love. Shout out to the Royals. And then lastly here, I don't know why we went from bottom to top. Whatever, we can do whatever we want here. We're progressive. Carlos Guillen, a Tiger, I believe a Mariner, a switch hitter, was a really pure, nice hitter, and I think as a switch hitter, a corner infielder, he might actually have a really nice swing and be pretty valuable. That'd be cool. Thankfully, we're on the last one here because my marker is dying. But I think it would be cool because we have a pinch hitter quirk in this game to have pinch hitter cards. We probably can't have Lenny Dykstra, because I'm pretty sure he's a controversial individual. However, you know who's not controversial, at least to my knowledge? The Canadian himself, Matt Stairs. This man was thick. This man was tiny. This man's sole purpose in life was to sit the entire game until he got one at-bat later on, and then he hit a tank. It is a missed opportunity, in my opinion, to have pinch hitter quirks and all these types of specialty card series and not have a pinch hitter card or card series or position, and then give guys like Matt Stairs their due. I know pinch hitters aren't really a thing much anymore, especially because the DH is everywhere, but these guys are still valuable. And Matt Stairs, I mean, how comically incredible would that be to add his fat ass to the game? SDS, I end this video with a plea. Spend the money. Sony, you're in charge here. I know you have the money. Make this game fun. Give us the legends, used loosely, of course, that we grew up watching. How fun would it be to get some of these randos in the game? Legend already doesn't actually mean legend. It just means old guy who's no longer playing the game. So let's open up the wallets and get some of these fun cards. Remember, and I cannot encourage this enough, let's play the name game in the comments. It's good for the algorithm, first of all, but I think it's also a ton of fun. This is the beauty of baseball. It's just naming random players with your friends back and forth, or finding a random Twitter thread and going nuts. So you guys continue the conversation down below. Of course, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.